next week. We'll get to, I bought the Street and Smiths. We'll get to that next week or so. Okay, here we go.
I got to warn you, I'm not in front of the computer today.
That's fine. Okay, it's SoCon John Hooper, who just told our Facebook audience he's not in front of his computer. You know what that means? It means he doesn't need his notes. He's ready for the test, and he joins me right now. Wrote a nice story that I read this morning on Mid-Major Madness, talking about the Southern Conference, where it was before John Marino, where it is now that his last day is coming up at the end of the month, and what Jim Schaus is looking at doing. And we've been talking about this ad nauseum for quite some time, actually, but I thought you did very well. So look at this. I mean, when John Marino came in, Steph Curry didn't yet have his reputation as someone who can't make the shot in the clutch. They didn't even, that was before they didn't even give him a ball in the Elite Eight. Appalachian State was still in a conference. I mean, you mentioned all these things. One of the things about Marino is that he really did change, I think, the SoCon from basketball, or from football to basketball. And just to begin with, I've said the SoCon could go either way. I don't think it's going to be the ACC anytime soon. And maybe it doesn't drop all the way to the MEAC, even if you tried to sabotage it. But I do think that it could be, let's say, a poor man's Southern A10, or a rich man's, say, Atlantic Sun or Big South, depending on which way it goes under Schaus. Certainly in basketball. What are your thoughts here? Where do you think the SoCon can go?
Yeah, I think it's, the improvement of the league the past 4 years has been pretty much exponential. If you look at the wins, and I look back at the win total. I don't know if we talked about this last week or not, but the win total of UNC Greensboro and Furman combined in basketball 2 years ago was 11 wins in one season. Mm-hmm. Combined for, 25 and 30 this year, 25 and 29 this year. That's the thing you can look at as far as how much the not necessarily Tennessee State and the other conference have improved. I think it's, you look at more the teams that are sort of in the middle of the pack, and so I think that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest improvement. I think it's the teams that are sort of behind the middle of behind the big dogs like East Tennessee State,
Mercer and Samford, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that the middle of the league, and I would consider UNC Greensboro in that lot of teams, because 10 years ago they weren't very successful, as I mentioned. So I think that you look at that, and I think East Tennessee State has had a little bit to do with that. I think you had a team that has won 100 games in 4 years under Steve Forbes. That makes a huge difference. And it really raises the level of the whole league, because it's either going to be just East Tennessee State, or it's going to be teams competing with them and trying to stop their arms race, so to speak, with players that can compete with those teams. So I think that was a brilliant move by Marino.
Yeah, I want to ask you, you mentioned here about the seeding, and just you mentioned ETSU winning 100 games the last 4 years. It's the most in a 4-year period in franchise, listen to me, school history. I guess you want to call it a franchise. Again, you could probably get away with it. But, you also, though, mentioned that that's the same case, though, these last 4 years, most victories over the last 4 years for both Furman and UNCG, I believe, is the other two teams that you mentioned. So, you talk about the SoCon getting places. We talked about, selection committee. UNCG was number 69 for the big dance, the NCAA tournament. How frustrating that was. I got to tell you, it probably was frustrating. I don't like these ancillary tournaments. If it was up to me, the CIT, the NIT, all those go away. I don't think we need them. I think it's, a Special Olympics trophy at best. But, what about ETSU not getting into the NIT? I mean, that sort of thing. So you think about, okay, could that improve in the future with somebody who's been on selection committees before in Schaus. That's one thing. Now, the one thing, though, that it's talked about is scheduling. And it's just, I guess, maybe Les Robinson was just a master of it here in Johnson City in his day. But, it's becoming increasingly more difficult unless, say, state legislatures move in, so a Wofford or a UNCG can play North Carolina or what have you. Here's what I want to ask. There's one thing that Ian Marino really did mention. I thought it was an interesting thing. He said, what about moving into an alliance with another conference where, let's say, the top 4 teams in these 2 conferences, they'd play each other? What conference, did he give any hint? What conference do you think the SoCon might move into a scheduling alliance along these lines? Say, like we see with the ACC and a Big Ten. What do you think that we could see top 4 in a SoCon?
Well, I mean, I think first of all, you have to look at comparable conferences in this area. And obviously, I think travel is a big part of that as well. I think the Ohio Valley Conference would be one.
Okay.
Given their success, Murray State last year, obviously with John Murray doing nice things in the NCAA tournament, Belmont as well. I think that's a natural fit. If you look at the top 4, you mentioned the top 4 from each conference. Being able to play the top 4 from the other conference is sort of like not necessarily a bracket busters, but what you would think of in that sense. And I think that you could match up the UNC Greensboro. If you look at last year with a Jacksonville State, for instance, a pretty competitive team, the Ohio Valley Conference, a Perma with the Belmont, and ETSU with the Murray State. So there's certainly some options there. I think that's sort of what I gather why he didn't mention a conference per se. I think that is where he was looking, maybe a regional conference that was comparable in size. I'm not sure that conference will be the Big South would also be in consideration for something like that.
You think it could get any bigger? Because I'll tell you this. I mean, it seems like it's more of just the, if you will, segregation from the bigger conferences and all this. Now, look, I mean, I can see the appeal of Belmont playing Wofford to a mid-major fan. Okay. ETSU, if they did this, they play Austin P next year. Just theorizing that. All right, that sounds like a decent match. That's an old OVC. We lost SoCon John Hooper here, it looks like. But that's an old matchup. Let's see here. He's calling us back. And we're going right into it here. Okay, so we can see this. But could you see actually a bigger conference? Because it seems like, actually more doing the favor for, say, the Big South, if it's that way, than the SoCon. What about, say, I don't know, the A10, the American, Conference USA, School, Sun Belt. What Sun Belt with the old CAA? I mean, places like that, shooting a little bit higher than just the old OVC and the Big South and I don't know, the A-Sun. I would think that the Southern Conference is to sort of move away from that and think of themselves more in that CAA, A-10, Conference USA type of league. Do you think that something like that is possible?
I think so. I mean, if you look at former members, obviously, you mentioned 2 of the conferences that those teams have gone to. You can look at the CAA. Or college is now pretty successful. Won a conference championship. Not this year, but the previous season, and that was something that didn't come easily. Even though they were a dominant, or one of the league powers in the Southern Conference. If you look past that, I guess that 1998-99 team, they didn't have much success in the conference tournament and gained what was an automatic bid to the tournament, but certainly. A 20-win season team perennially, and I think that that's a team, that, and it's a conference really. If you look at the membership, I think of a Hofstra would be an interesting matchup for some of the teams in the Southern Conference. And, all their members. I think you could renew rivalries with the Richmond.
I liked what you were saying about renewing a rivalry with the Richmond. I'm Kind of curious why Richmond isn't even in the SoCon anymore, to be brutally honest with you. But there you have it. Yes, I mean that's a long time ago, but yes.
Right. But I think there's that intrigue there as far as renewing a rivalry with the team, and that's not too far for travel. And VCU is another one. You look back at how much success they've had on tap to have another pretty big season next year. So they've been, ever since, I guess, making the Final Four back in 2009, they've been kind of a perennial mid-major power. And that would be a team that certainly would be attractive, I think, to Commissioner Schaus and, the rest of the SoCon membership as far as getting that game in here. It may not be a major program, but it's a program that garners respect if you can get a win or at least play that team.
Well, he's SoCon John Hooper. We're going to talk about the football season coming up. Hey, August 31st. That's only, 2.5 months away. Only. Tri-City Sports Now.